I hope this exercise and this session is going to be as fruitful as I'm expecting it to be as well. So the topic of conversation, the core of you. All right. Moses, all the way from Impiji. Look at that. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us this evening. All right. All right. Welcome to the call. So if you have any friends that are interested in understanding their values, defining what they are, just send them that last minute link or message that I sent in the communication. Just let them know that we are about to start. This is going to be an exciting session, so just send them the link and let them join with you. Awesome, awesome. So just give us about 1 minute. 1 minute, 1 minute. All right, all right, all right, all right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, those that are already on the call, I would like to officially welcome you to BORAWATU Africa. And for those that don't know BORAWATU Africa, BORAWATU, we are a community of mentors and mentees and coaches that are dedicated to helping young people, especially those that are transitioning from school and going into the work world. And how we are doing this is equipping them with the necessary skills, the information, that is, of course, the information, the community, the type of people that you're hanging around, but then also bringing the right kind of people, the coaches and mentors in front of you. Now, at BORAWATU, those are the three core attributes that are really we are pushing as a result of making this community. We do understand that some of the information that you realize it later and you think about it and you're like, maybe I should have heard of this information a long time ago. So for those that are seeing this information, you're really privileged to be listening to some of the guest speakers that we bring on this Thursday presentation. So every time Thursday is happening, just always look forward to the presenters that are going to be giving these speeches. For example, the topic of conversation today, the core of you, understanding and defining your personal values. Yes, Ronald, good evening to you. All right, so we have talked about personal values some time back, but the last guest speaker just hinted a little bit about personal values, and we felt maybe today might be the time to dive deeper into what values and everything relating to that and how to uphold them. So how this session is going to work, we shall invite the person that you know is going to be taking us through this topic of conversation today. Many of you have already read his profile, so he's the best person to be taking us through this presentation. So as he's making this, please do ask your questions towards the end in case you want something specific that you would like to know about this particular topic of conversation. Okay. For those that are joining in, if you have your microphone on, just mute it. If you have your video on, just mute it. Otherwise, without wasting any more time, it's 2 minutes past 7. I would like to welcome Samuel. Samuel, welcome to the call. I've already pinned you. Welcome to the call. You can just say hello such that I confirm that your mic is working.
Hello, good evening, everyone on call.
Good evening, Samuel. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, was I test the mic or it's a time we flow?
No, it's time we flow. It's time we flow. I can hand over to you now, Samuel. If you have your video on, that's totally fine. I will be logging off now.
Okay, thank you. Good evening once again, everyone that is on call. First is let's just begin this conversation with each one of us just sharing three things why you're grateful today. Let me first see them in the chat room. If you can be able to share, or if you have chance to unmute your microphone, please kindly. There's an option of raising the hand. That also works. I just want us to give ourselves 3 minutes of saying why you are grateful today. I'm sure Stefano will help me coordinating that. If you have your microphone, if you can raise your hand, you can. If you can type in the chat room, I would be very glad to see that. I just need three things you're grateful for today. Of course, not life. Life shouldn't be among them because life is for all of us. It's a constant. So I just need something beyond life. Something beyond life. Something beyond being alive today. Three things. Three things.
Oh, Samuel, we have some messages in the chat box. One person says they are grateful for work. That is Jackie. Alex says is grateful he accomplished the hardest task of work today. Again, grateful for my children and my husband. Grateful for this space,
Okay.
Borawatu. Hassan in the
Okay.
chat box is grateful for Borawatu. I have to succeed all my targets for day 2.
Okay. Okay. So why did we begin with this? Is to say that one of the greatest ways of understanding alive. My apologies. I'll switch on my video at the end. I've been running a couple of meetings, so I just felt I need to breathe just before I can get my video on, not to get disrupted. So I'll have my video at just the end. But there's not much difference between the person on the photo and I. Probably a couple of few things like the hair. Probably it's taller or more than what's on the photo, or less, or the beard. But let's get into a conversation of saying there is nothing as powerful if you're going to understand life in its full totality, like appreciating every single day and what comes with life. For you to be able to understand your personal values, which make the core, it must come from a space of first, do you appreciate life? Because we're talking about personal values. And these personal values are personal values because you have a life to live. And for me, this life to live, as you appreciate it, is that every one of us has a purpose as to why they live. Every one of us has a purpose as to why. Sorry, I think either I could be having connectivity, but I'll make sure now I don't touch anyone until we finish. Or let me set a second gadget just to be safe. So every one of us has a purpose as to why they live, and the purpose as to why we live is could be both the jobs we do every single day, but at times many of us get so entangled into the jobs we do every single day that we get to lose our purpose. And our purpose is in the uniqueness of every one of us. When God created us, God gave each one of us gifts. And these gifts are unique, very extremely unique. Even if all of us were great, speakers, everyone will still have their uniqueness. in how they speak, in how they share their messages. Even certainly in their different tones. Some will have a persuasive tone. Some will have an authoritative tone. And God gives you that very type of tone because He intends you to serve using that tone. That if you have an authoritative tone, then you'll work better in places that are authoritative or that you speak with authority. If you have a persuasive tone, then God has prepared you to be in places that need speaking, but persuasively. Now, that every time you get to appreciate all these gifts that they are unique, then you understand that if you come with an authoritative tone, you don't belong to a school where people are being persuaded because your tone is not persuasive. So you get to appreciate and nurture and hone that. And through honing it and nurturing it, mostly in understanding your purpose for living, then there mushrooms values. So many of us have understood values from the career principle. So many of us end up assuming and taking on values that are career based values, but not self-purpose driven values. And as we get older, as we get to mature, then we start having a conflict within ourselves. And this conflict is your personal values clashing with your career values. And it doesn't mean that career values are bad. Absolutely no. Your career values are absolutely good and fantastic, but they are for your career, they are for your organization. And so it means that those values come from the vision of the organization. When you enter every organization, you get to realize that every organization has a vision. BORAWATU Africa has a vision. And so they say that for us to be able to fulfill this vision, these are the values we need. Now, in choosing career paths, it's just so important to understand your personal vision and then align it with your career vision. There are so many people, if they went back on the drawing board to understand their personal values, they would probably quit the jobs they are doing. But at times it is too late because the jobs we are doing, you find we're doing them not because they give us fulfillment and satisfaction, but because we are looking for the basics there, which is the bread and butter for our families. And so that's why you hear that as people grow older or wiser, they get bored at times with the places where they are working. So why am I bringing this conversation? It's because we have been in a couple of meetings, many of them where we sit and are discussing personal values, and people are fronting their career values. That does not mean that your personal values cannot be your career values. For example, my career and my job is my calling, and so my values as an individual 100% align with my everyday work values. Because I am the job within my job. So when you cut me out, then you cut my job. You don't separate us. So what I do for me is not a job, but it's a lifestyle. So I'm not working as a job because I'm expecting to be paid. No, I am working because what I'm doing is a lifestyle for me. And that lifestyle for me is where I find fulfillment and purpose. And so should money come, I'm extremely happy. But should money still not come, the end in mind is not money, but the end in mind is then the vision for my purpose for living. So if my vision for purpose of living is to transform individuals, to make them appreciate their purpose and live a more resourceful life, then even if I sat in a room of 100 people and two or three or even one of them understood their purpose, then I'm extremely contented. So the question I would want to start with us today is, in the chat room, still list for me five things that really get you angry, just angry on an instant. And don't think hard, just list. And don't think so academic. No. Just list. If the five things that get you angry is, let's say, I hate to hear border guys hooting all the time. If it's just to say, I really get agitated when I get into jam and there is crazy traffic. If what gets you angry so fast is hearing adults abuse children, if what gets you angry so fast is to say, I don't like seeing people walking pulling their sandals, just mention on the instant. Don't get so academic. Don't just be you. Just be you. So I am right reading through the chat room. I hope trying to read through the chat room doesn't take me off. It just did that. So I'll let someone look through for me.
All right. Then we have a couple of messages. Ronald says hunger. Hassan says lying to me. Betty disrespected. Fauzia hits the potholes. Uh, Hassan eating while walking and talking. Lenny cheating me as a customer. Lying to me, disrespecting. Pauline gossiping about me. Those are some of them.
Okay. Just also mention for me three random things that get you really happy and excited. Three random things that get you happy and excited. I see Ronnie saying money. I see some Hassan saying money. I see a lot of money coming in the chat room. I see food. I see singing. Okay. So achieving my goals. Okay. So random question again. It's going to be a little bit more engaging, so don't get tired. So to the people who say money gets you excited, let me ask a question. If you were walking behind someone and they dropped 1,000,000 shillings, would you pick it and give it to them? I'm waiting for an answer. If you were walking behind someone, 1,000,000 dropped, you don't know the person, would you pick it and give it to them, or you'd pick it and keep it since money excites you? And some of these answers, the responses will be on the chat room, but you also know that you have at the back of your heart the response you have. So for me, that honesty is very key. I would give them their money. I see one thing. I would give them their money. I must uphold. Okay. Now, that's for you who all are saying yes. I would give them the money. So I mean, clap for your hands. Clap for yourselves. Now, what does that say? That irrespective of money becoming your excitement, you will still pick the money and give it to the person who's the owner of the money. What is that already saying about you? What do you think that says about you? One says integrity. What else? Or if a person picked money and just tapped on your shoulder and said, hey, you've just dropped your money and it's 1 million, and they give it to you, what would you think of those people randomly? Waiting for feedback in the chat room. What did you think of the person who taps on your back and says, hey, you just dropped your money, and gives it back to you? What did you think of them? Honest, honest, honest. They're God loving, they're genuine, they're God fearing, they're honest, they're blessed and kind, they're sincere. Now, what you just shared in the chat room now then becomes their honest set of values. They become their honest set of values. So it's honesty, you have sincerity, you have compassion. Someone talked about love and care and kindness, compassion. Now that then immediately randomly speaks of that person's values. Now this is where the amazing part is that at times someone might not actually know that then they are honest. Why? Because to them, they just did what should be done. So to the person who the money that had fallen down was given back to is the one who sees honesty in you. For you who's just picked the money and given it back to them, you actually most times don't see the honesty. You don't realize that you are by reflex acting out of honesty. You don't see it because it's within your value set system. It's the person who just receives their money back that says, well, Pauline is such an honest lady. Now, what am I trying to say about this? That quite often we need people to reflect around to be able to understand what our values are. So as we understand personal values, which becomes the core of you, the first way to understand what your values are is a space of reflection. A space of reflection. How often do you reflect about yourself? And how often do you mirror yourself through other people? When we talk about conversation of having mentors and coaches, this is their role now. That your coach or your mentor becomes a mirror where you have honest, candid conversations. If you have a mirror in your house, the mirror doesn't lie. If you have a pimple, it shows you a pimple. Then it is you to try to get makeup and do some foundation to hide the pimple. But the mirror just said, you have a pimple. If your hair is not combed, the mirror says, your hair is not combed. Now you choose to get a cape and wear it, or get a scarf and cover along the head, but the mirror just said, your hair is not kept. Why do we always bring the reflective mirror into our lives? It's because quite often we are not honest with ourselves because of the human element that mixes between the personality and the character. Many of us grow and live in character, not in our personalities. Now, for those who watch movies, you may understand and appreciate that movies are character. So if there is a James Bond, that's why on the movie, you always have either Diana, who was acting as Tyra Perry. Then you'll have Mayoga, who was acting as Chris Brown. All that, what you're trying to say is character. So many of us then in our daily lives, we live a character. And what character am I talking about here? The character of what we do, the character of our careers. So you find you're an MD of an organization, you're a human resource of an organization, you're a banker, you're a marketing executive. So you wear the character of a marketing executive and you lose who you are. Many people, even when you tell them to define themselves or describe themselves, they describe what they are and what they do, not who they are. And when we are asking who you are, we are looking for your value set system. And quite often when we sit on a panel in a couple of boardrooms, when you're trying to hire either hire or fire people, whichever way, and you simply ask a person, who are you? And the person then gets down to listing for you what they have done. You say, who are you? I'm a teacher by profession. I'm an engineer. I am a third born of 5 children. I have a master's degree. That's not who you are. That's not who you are. That's a character you've been playing because of the environment you're living in. So before you became a third born of 5, before you did your master's degree, before you have an edge in technology, who are you? So many of us live in character, and because we live in character, it denies us to see our human set values, and we end up always absorbing and taking on career-based values. And so the conversation today is more or less to tickle us, into understanding who you are. Because if you're going to have a conversation on understanding your personal values, you must appreciate who you are. And so who are you? It could be an assignment that we're going to get on. Go and learn about what we call personality temperaments or personality traits. Another of those personality traits, I'll just see some who know who they are in the chat room. We have melancholic people, we have phlegmatic people, we have sanguines, and we have cholerics. Anyone on this call who certainly know which temperament they are. If you are choleric, if you're a sanguine, if you're melancholy, if you're phlegmatic, please type which you are in the chat room. And then I'll randomly tell you who I think you are, just even when I've never met you, by just you identifying your personality. So just write for me in the chat room if you know your personality. If you have never come across this conversation of personality traits, it is absolutely well. You can always go back and read about it after this conversation. But I just need 2-3 people who can type for me in the chat room who they are. Diana sanguine, I see another sanguine. Okay. So I have Harriet and Diana telling me they're sanguines, right? And so I will just say these facts about sanguines, and then we will need to see if Diana and Harriet, Pauline is a phlegmatic, and okay, I just didn't see that, got off the screen. Okay, Fauzia is a melancholic. Okay, now in understanding temperaments, you find you have a primary temperament and a secondary temperament. So when you're ticking boxes, you'll find that there's a box where you'll have probably 8 out of 8, and then another you'll have 3 out of 8, then another you have 1, another you have 1. So you can find one of the personality values falling into another temperament, but you'll have one where you find they're 8 out of 8, and another you find they're like 4 out of 8, that's secondary, and then the other ones which have, let's say, 2 2 or 1 1, then those are just minor. You don't have to really care much about them. But the key one is where you find you're taking out everything. So let's go to sanguines chap chap, faster faster. And I'll show you how then, after knowing your personality, which is who you are, then you develop value system based on who you are. And here, what we're trying to run away from, we're trying to run away from individuals who create a value set system based on their careers. However, like I said, your personality or who you are can become your job. For example, I am comfortably doing a job which is who I am. So I'm living my purpose. If I died today, I am good. If I died yesterday, I am good. I say I've done my part. Now, sanguines, these are happy go people, extremely happy go people. So Diana, are you, and Harriet, I think, who said sanguine, are you happy, excited go people? People who love party, people who love fun, people who love bright life, people who are jolly, people who love bright colors. Are you the kind of people who get angry so fast? Because sanguines don't. If you agree with those traits, please say yes. If you don't agree with those traits, please, you can say pass.
Yes.
Okay. One. So now, what did you get to understand about? Okay, I'll come to how to pick values out of that later, so that I don't vulgarize the conversation now, because the different temperaments might not get it. Okay. Okay, super. Second thing about sanguines. You are, I know most of the time we tend to want the things that sound so beautiful to our ears, but the personality traits are telling us to just be honest with ourselves. One of the things about sanguines is they can easily pick anything. They can easily pick anything. And what I'm trying to mean here is that they are spontaneous. Very extremely spontaneous. For example, they can be heading out for lunch and are going to Java's, and then you simply tell them, let's go to Jikoni. And they say, well, let's just go to Jikoni. So are the people saying sanguine spontaneous? Harriet says true. And now, as we talk about this conversation, I'll then help you understand how then these create your value set system. Okay, we get out of there. Let me just run to melancholies a bit. Melancholic people, I don't know how to translate this in English, but I can comfortably speak it in Luganda. That muri bantu bantondo. You're sensitive people, extremely very sensitive. Small things mean so much to you. The big things don't create excitement. Is that true? The one who said melancholic people. Is it true that you're very, very sensitive and emotional people? Pauline is guilty, Fauzi is guilty. Okay. Is it true that if you're a melancholic person, you're now not spontaneous. So you're the opposite of a sanguine. You're planned, you're scheduled, you're organized. And if I could also add, some people keep saying you have OCD. Is it true? To the melancholic people. Okay. OCD. It's just a disorder, like people who say, if I left my pen on a table in a certain angle, it's how I want to find it. If I lay my bed and you sit on it, please stretch it if you get off the bed. The other friends of ours, they'll sit on the bed. When they are done, they leave. If I organize my cushions in my living room, the way you found them before sitting, please leave them like that. And if you can't leave them like that, the moment you stand and leave, I'll organize them back the way they are. What am I trying to say? They are still very organized. They are still very, very neat. They are very, very detailed. Like for them, they are detailed to the knot. Okay, so those were melancholy, and I'm picking just a few things. To the person who said they're phlegmatics, do you find yourself very silent quite often during conversations? Like during conversations, you're the one who always says less, but always listening. There was a person who wrote phlegmatic, very silent. If you're a phlegmatic, do you realize that a lot of people come to you when they have conflict, or a lot of people easily confide in you for their secrets? I'm saying the answer. So if you're a phlegmatic, do you realize you're more of a peacemaker than creating conflict? So you hate conflict, you hate to see conflict, you actually walk away from conflict. Okay, now let's ask again, sanguines. Do you realize for you sanguines, you actually love where there is conflict? Like where there is caviar, like caviar. It has just happened and they hype, and that's where you actually just want to stay. Do you realize that for you, if you're a sanguine, when someone gives you 10K, just 10K, when you meet people, you say, gee, guy has given me money, 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 money. You exaggerate things. Is it true? Like just someone takes you for dinner and then you just blow it out of proportion. You like make it like the world just came down, the heavens just fell on you. To the phlegmatics, do you realize that for you, if someone takes you out for dinner, probably it might never be known? Yes, you will take photos, but you may never share them. You may never share them on your status. For sanguines, do you realize that when you go for dinner, before you even start eating, the first thing is to take the photos and share on your status? You can't wait to post after the meal. No, it's hard. You must post before the meal. Like it's really hard. Do you realize that about you? So now, let me go to probably our friends who are cholerics. I didn't see whether cholerics had typed. Is there anyone who typed choleric in the chat room? We had sanguines. Well, we had a melancholic. I talked about melancholic a bit, phlegmatics. Is there anyone who posted choleric? Okay, let's restrict. Oh, there's someone who posted choleric. Okay, choleric. Let me drop for you a bit. Do you realize you're very impatient as a choleric? You want to get things done. How is not the issue, but they must get done. You want results irrespective of the processes and systems. You just want results. Is that true about cholerics? Like you just want a result. You will kill all the processes just to get the result out of the system. Cholerics, do you realize that as a choleric, you take as many risks as you can? So your appetite for achieving is based on how many more risks you take. So you are risk takers. Do you realize that on the other side, if you're a melancholy, you are not after results, but you're after systems. It doesn't matter how much you have at the end. What matters is how you got how much. While the choleric is saying all that matters is the how much, not the how. Now, what are we purely discussing in this conversation? We're just trying to dig to understand ourselves in terms of who we are. And this who we are is where most of the values that we cherish lie. Now, when you start to appreciate doing things in the nature of who you are, then there are values that purely don't align with you. Look, friends, there are people in this world who integrity must never become their value. Because based on their personality, it is hard to have integrity in certain areas. But look, if they focus on things where they have passion and live within their purpose, then they will have integrity. Why? Because you are using your personality to achieve rather than using your character to achieve. I'll give an example. I am a typical melancholic person. We're extremely pessimistic. We think through things all the time. Now, delivering on time is always a problem with us. Delivering things on time is always a problem with us. Why? We think so much about things. Can we start a pharmacy? And then as a melancholic, I say, okay, what if people don't fall sick? Who'll buy the medicine? And he said, no. Research has made it clear. People fall sick. So you'll take me to the market and we realize actually people fall sick. Then I will say, what if robbers break into the pharmacy? We just go back on zero. And then now you'll tell me, no. If we can hire security personnel, they come and guard the pharmacy, and I'll then tell you. But I have seen even banks be robbed when they have security personnel. Will that stop people robbing my pharmacy? And then you say, no, if we can put on security and security is not beefed up enough, then we can get insurance. And they say, well, so what is insurance? Insurance, indemnity, blah, 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 against fire, against burglary, blah, blah, blah. Then I say, okay, so what if a whole year ends and I have not encountered those risks? Do they give me back my money? You're like, no. Then I'm like, so I am literally, this is our thought process. Why? We are risk averse. So now, if you gave a melancholic person an assignment to deliver it on time, there's a huge likelihood they will do things on last minute against the deadline, not against their will. No. Not in their will, but they'll be fighting to do things against the deadline. So when we are working and we're in organizations, and then we understand that I am a melancholic person, but this organization is about delivering on set deadlines, then I try to bring in a choleric within the organization. So that while I'm doing the thinking and they're avoiding risk, I have a melancholic person who is taking the risk. If they take the risk and the risk hits hard, then I'm there to absorb the risk. And there, the two personalities work together. But I'll be giving myself a tall order if I say that as a melancholic person, I'll deliver on time. Because even when I'm delivering, I'm thinking, I hope there is nothing I've missed in this deliverable. Even if it's a cake, even just after baking it and it's fine and it's final and they are wait to deliver, they still even want to test. I hope the final one that I've baked is the same recipe I planned. That's their style. But then what does that speak out of that very personality of the set values? That certainly they come out more honest. They come out more honest. They love systems and processes. They come out more accountable. Melancholic people are very extremely accountable people. They have a lot of compassion. Melancholic and sanguines have a lot of compassion as a value. So now you get to understand how now you start getting to niche out your personal values based on who you are. And then now, after understanding these personal values based on who you are, then you say, how do I merge them with an organization that I intend to work for or that I work for? And so where you find you have a challenge in meeting that set standard of that value, then you're able to bring people on board who are a support system that meet the values that speak into that organization or that given assignment. And from the outside, people will say, Sam is very time conscious. Why? Because after realizing that I may not do well with time, I surround myself with people who do well with time. They become my support system. So over time, I learn to become a better time manager, not because I'm becoming better, but I'm surrounding myself with people who are good at time management. And that over time, it's nurtured, and then it becomes another set value that people will know me of. Values are simply what people will speak of you in that room when you're not there. Values is simply your legacy. Values is simply your set system on how you do things. Values are intangible. But values are felt in every inch of an activity that you do. The greatest challenge we have in building values is because as human elements, we're so much prefixed with things that are very tangible. Yet for values, they are nurtured. They are nurtured. They are molded. They are given their respect. They need patience. It's just like raising a child. They won't walk on one day. So as we implore ourselves to appreciate the habit of developing values, we must be patient and appreciate that values grow for a lifetime. And even when you're long gone, your values don't die. Your values live and other people adopt them. So from this conversation, you can now go back and look at who you are versus what you are and ask yourself, have I been an organization to myself, or I have been running my life in the line of the organization where I work for? While you have an organization that has a vision and whose vision, then they have a set of values on how to deliver that vision, look at yourself as an organization tonight and go and have your own vision, and let's see your values that speak into that vision. It's very, very, very key to invest a lot in understanding self and understanding a purpose-driven life. Purpose-driven lives don't mean that you won't work. You can still incorporate your purpose for living in any job that you're doing. In any job that you're doing. If you do that, then you will have set values that people will remember you of. Values, values, values are who we are. We will fight a lost battle if we try to nurture values based on what we do. What we do should come from who we are. So look back today and write down the things that you think if you died today, you will be remembered of. Your values lie in there. Write down how you want people to remember you when you're not here. How you want people to remember you when you walk out of the organization where you work. How you want people to remember you when you've been at a dinner and you just left dinner before others. When you walk away, how do you want people to remember you? Look back and say, if I enter a room, how do I want people to see me, to remember me? That thought, those thoughts are simply triggering you into the conversation of building set values. And when you answer that assignment, then start nurturing it. Start nurturing it. Start nurturing it. If you find that what hurts you is hearing people abuse each other, then you're compassionate, you're loving, you're caring, and you had conflict, then start nurturing yourself in the line of seeing less of that, because then you'll be remembered for that. Most of our values lie within who we are. I just hope that as we start this journey of rediscovering and discovering ourselves, we in the end find ourselves more fulfilled and find a more gratifying life where we are more contented, not because of what we have in our pockets, but how we made other people feel. Because that will be what will be remembered of us when we're no longer in the room anymore. Thank you. Beautiful question. Pauline, it's not really hard to work with colleagues. And what makes it hard to work with colleagues, just like any other personalities, is because we focus more on our we don't take time to understand the people we work with. I'll tell you, I've worked with colleagues and I find them okay. But irrespective of whatever they do, because while I might find them as faster as you know, you want to do things and come back and think through them, I also appreciate that they also look at me as a problem. Like you're delaying. What's there to think through? So I'll give a set scenario of we need sugar. We have visitors at home, we need sugar. While I'm trying to think, where is the money? How much is a kilo of sugar? The colleague will say, get a cup, dip it in a sack, let people drink. I mean, all we need is sugar. The bits of understanding kilo, half kilo can be understood later, but for now we need sugar. So they are result oriented. They are result oriented. And so they are not process and systems oriented by virtue of that. Whereas probably a melancholic person is not result oriented, but is more of system and process oriented. So the melancholic person is thinking, as long as I follow the process and system, I'll get to the answer. You remember in our high school, I think it was mathematics or physics, where they would have to mark the way you've what would you call the formula. So the choleric is thinking, I mean, we don't need formula, we need an answer. The melancholic person is saying, we need a formula. How did you get to the answer? So that's just a conversation between two people, and all of them are outwardly right in their respect. So people just find it hard to work with cholerics because they go ahead of time, if I can say. They go ahead of time. They do things quite often faster, and then they can think through later. Whereas many people prefer to think through things before they do them. Why? One is thinking about a process to give you a result. Choleric is thinking, I need the result. I can always think through the process if it didn't work. And in any case, what's wrong with the process if I got the result? So is the process very important anyway? You want a result? I've given you the result. You want a target? I've given you the target. You want 20 cells? I've given you 20 cells. How I got them is not a problem. Whether I got my own money, banked it, and got 20 cells, it's not an issue. The systems person is saying, who is the owner of these 20 cells you're bringing in? So that's just a difference. They are more result oriented, and because they are result oriented, they move faster and then they take a lot of risks. Now, naturally, as human beings, many of us fear risks, many of us avoid risks. Amazingly, about cholerics, they thrive where there are risks. So that's why many people find it hard to work with them, because many people are still fearing to take the risks. A choleric had taken a risk. And for me, it should just be the perfect thing to know that opposites attract. If you're a male, please don't do an activity with a male. You all see things the same way. You can't go further. You all fear risks, you all can't move, you all think through, you all that's the same thing. And that's why they say unlike poles attract. Like poles certainly never attract. They are good for a honeymoon. They are good even if you're dating. If you're dating a like pole, it's exciting in the beginning. It gets boring so fast. When you're dating unlike poles, it's extremely irritating at the beginning. But when you learn yourselves, it's a best match, because the energy that you don't have is the energy they have. The energy they have is the energy you don't have, and that works better than where you find the energy they have is the energy you have. So when all of you are drained and all of you are flat, when all of you are high, then the house will get on fire. It's just that cholerics love risk, choleric are fast, cholerics want the result. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Samuel. In case we have any questions, we have about 5 minutes to close this. For those who have some questions, you can still run them through.
I
Uh,
have a question.
oh, please go ahead.
I have a question too after her.
For that awesome discussion. And thank you so much. The present has been definitely very, very, very amazing. And just to add just a little bit on what he's already talked about, I think cholerics, in many instances, from my experience, I find them pushy, especially if they are working like with phlegmatics. So a phleg will find that this person here is driving them crazy because this person here is